Hey, Happy New Year. It's Dre with Yourself.Podcast. And because of the holidays, we haven't been too successful with getting people on air and joining the podcast, and that's completely understandable. The holidays are so hectic for some people, and maybe not hectic for others, but they can have bad days, and we can all understand that. So, in place of having a guest today, I wanted to read a couple of segments from my tech guy who helps me quite a bit with technical issues on the podcast. His name is Daniel, and he's written this book called The Wisdom Mentality. I know it's backwards, but this is what it looks like. So I've read a couple of excerpts from it before while I was doing a live on TikTok. I strongly recommend this book because it reminds you of how to believe in yourself. It reminds you of your absolute limitless that you have within yourself to complete goals, to change your way of being, to change your way of thinking, to kind of slice out the negative thoughts and maybe cloud in positive thoughts so they're not all bubbling and colliding in your brain. And what I love about this book the most so far is you can actually feel the author's care for every line that he writes. So, what I wanted to say, or what I wanted to read from this part of the book, and I won't take long today because I know it's New Year's Day, and I hope everyone was safe and had a celebratory New Year's Eve. Unfortunately, here in Vegas, winter has arrived, and when that happens, it gets chilly and rainy. So I feel bad for all the tourists that came out and were spending the night on the Las Vegas Strip and Las Vegas downtown because it was pouring rain. And I know that many people were disappointed, but I guess they had a great fireworks show. Las Vegas used to be very different, and from the time that I moved here, it used to be so exciting. And personally, myself and my family, we don't go down to the Strip to celebrate anymore because we've been there, done that so many times. But I hope that everyone had a great night with family or friends or loved ones. And if you did not spend it with with any friends or loved ones and were alone, I feel for you. I've been there before. But sometimes you can take that time and show or think about reflection of the years that passed and what you may need to improve on, or new techniques that might help you with trying to be a little bit more happy in this following year. You get a chance every moment to change your life around, every moment. So you can choose your moment and say, for this moment, I'm going to try something different and see if it helps. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And like I said, it's Daniel, and he has a website, The Wisdom Mentality. He's also on all of the socials, TikTok, Instagram, I believe Discord, and he's under Daniel at the Wisdom Mentality. So the part that I'm reading today is called "You Can Unlearn the Limits." Your mind isn't broken; it's just following old scripts. When you start paying attention, you'll see how many of your daily thoughts come from fear, self-doubt, and beliefs that don't belong to you. You'll notice how often you operate on autopilot, doing things just because it's what you've always done. That touches me because I struggle with anxiety a lot, And I have been struggling since I was 7 years old, and I wasn't diagnosed until I was a full grown adult. So I was used to masking. I was used to being afraid on certain days. I was triggered many times, and a lot of times I still don't know what my triggers are. I'm not very familiar with all of them until I get one, and then I'm like, okay, I have to make a mental note and say, okay, that's a trigger. So I have to watch that forward. So I'll continue to read here. It says, but awareness is the first step to freedom. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. And that means you have the power to change the story. And he has changed the story in bold. So that should mean also, that should be another light bulb there for you. And the next segment that I want to, I'm just going to read two more segments, possibly three. Imagine waking up one day. Okay, just imagine. Close your eyes and imagine if you have to. And realize you're not broken. You've just been misled. The real you has been underneath it all, waiting. Imagine peeling back every lie that said you weren't enough, reclaiming every part of you that you buried to fit in. Reconnecting with that limitless energy you were born with. That's the journey this book invites you on. Can you imagine being able to believe those words? It's even difficult for me to think about peeling back and wondering who I really am, because I have been an empath my entire life, which I didn't know what an empath was until probably a few years ago, because I was diagnosed in 2018, I believe, with my full general anxiety. Like, I'm a full functioning anxiety walking person, stick figure. So I have to manage my anxiety with medication. I'm like, my mind is always on alert. I'm always thinking what could go wrong. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? I sometimes do live my days in fear, and I've been asked by many therapists before, what do I think, or who do I think I would be if one day I woke up and the anxiety was gone? And I thought, I really have no idea, because I have lived with that anxiety like a protection shield almost. Even though it works against me, I feel that it works to protect me. And so that right there, that section there speaks to me quite loudly. The next segment is called My Wake Up Moment. There was a point in my life where I kept everything inside. I'd smile on the outside, but I felt like I was just going through the motions. How many of us have done that? There were days I'd wake up and wonder, what am I even doing all of this for? I felt that. I knew I had more inside me, but I didn't know how to reach it. It felt disconnected, or I felt disconnected from people, from purpose, from myself. So that's him writing about himself. And then one day, I just sat in silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. I let everything, I apologize for that. I let everything rise. The fear, the pressure, the memories, and I didn't run from it. How difficult must that have been? In that silence, I saw clearly for the first time. I had been living someone else's version of life, and I was done. That was the start of the wisdom mentality, and a shift in how I saw myself, the world, and what's possible. Can you imagine having that intuitive pause for yourself? I, even myself, having been raised by a therapist, my mom, who was a therapist and had many degrees in psychology and mental health, and worked in the mental health field, who tried so hard to help me with my childhood trauma and my anxieties, but we didn't know about anxiety while I was growing up. So she tried very hard, but because my trauma was so devastating, for her, it was difficult to process and to be able to help me without feeling the pain herself, because my mother and I had a very, very deep connection and a very close relationship. So when she felt pain, I felt the pain, and vice versa. So I don't know what it would be like to actually be this brave, like Daniel, and just sitting in silence with all of your thoughts, with all of your fears, with all of your, all of your memories, the pressure, the silence itself. So I commend him for being so brave. The last section I want to read is called Your Challenge. So I will leave you this challenge for this week for you to think about, and we will go from there, moving forward into this new year of 2026. It says, your challenge: remember who you are. Let's start right now. Take a moment. Take your moment. Close your eyes and picture the youngest version of yourself before the world taught you fear. What did you dream of? Think about that for a second. How did you feel about life? What did you believe about yourself? Now ask, what part of that child still lives inside me? And what part have I abandoned to survive? I want you to think of that section, especially that last section that I just read. And if you need to rewatch this video over and over until something clicks in your brain, please do so. Mental health is just as bad as physical health. In fact, I personally believe in psychosomatics that mental health affects our physical health. Not all the time, but I do believe that there are symptoms out there that can create physical illnesses. And I apologize if any of this is triggering, but I hope that it brings some light, some clarity to anyone out there who is struggling, who is recently diagnosed with any mental health issue, with any chronic illness, who is going through any grief, any separation of families, divorce, friendship alienations, parental alienations, struggling with family members that just cannot get it together, and who continue in hostile environments. I suggest that if you are in any of those, that you reach out to Yourself.Podcast so we can discuss your life challenges. And I can suggest, like the disclaimer says, I am not a mental health specialist. However, we can discuss coping skills that may be able to help you. Maybe you've tried the coping skills that I might suggest, and you say, nope, I've already tried that. It doesn't work. Maybe we can try something else. Or maybe another viewer will see your session on this podcast and say, I've been there. Let me try and put my 2 cents in to see if I can help that person. Because sometimes that's the only way we can get through this life, is by helping one another. 2025 certainly has showed that bonding together was crushed. And a lot of us felt that being individuals was lonely, was criticized, was judged. And I would hate for anyone to feel excluded because of the way they live their life, because of the struggles they have in life, because of the opportunities they have not seen or been able to obtain, and because of any friendship or a lending ear just to hear them out. So this podcast is meant for those people, and for anybody actually who need that lending ear, where it's different. It's different to talk to somebody sometimes who's willing to listen to you without judgment and has no without any objective to say, oh, well, I've heard this story before and I know your track record. And sometimes you need that fresh space and safe space to be able to express yourself. So I highly recommend that if you have not tried therapy at all, I highly recommend that you do. If you have tried therapy and it doesn't work and you just need to vent, you just need a lending ear, you need new suggestions, you need a friend to talk to, Yourself.Podcast is the place for you, because we not only offer some support, the lending ear, open arms, but we offer friendship and we offer a community so you can feel included, because I would hate for anybody to feel lonely and excluded, because I have been there myself where I had no one but myself. And that became very destructive until I learned to help myself up. But I did it with the help of others. So with that, I would like to welcome the year of 2026 of inclusion, of helpfulness, of being capable even to create love in this world, healing in this world, so that we can all find clarity, we can all find ourselves and be the best that we can be for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, for the world. So with that, I'd like to bid you a happy new year. Please be safe every day. Think of the choices that you make every day. Make the best choice possible. Make it count. And, well, be someone's friend. And until next time, which I'd like to remind you, next Friday, January 9th, there will not be an episode because I actually will be out of town. So we will be waiting on the following Friday. So if you don't see us post anything next Friday, don't worry. We will be back. And until then, that's a wrap. And this is Dre with Yourself.Podcast. Have a good one.